Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Clifton Bradley, and I want to get a tribute out to Kobe Bryant. Man, he was a giant for the LA Lakers. And then a tribute out to my grandfather, who I miss dearly, and my father, who died on February the 14th. That's my grandfather. And this is a tribute to both of them. But they told me, don't worry about the dead, worry about the living. That's what they told me. And Frank, Mr. Floyd, you know what? I knew y'all was coming, damn it, so I baked the cake. Okay? So I'm gonna have them, they're running for office, and I ain't usually into politics, but Frank said all Frank got to do is pick the phone up. And I said, damn it, I pushed people back to get Frank on, because me and Frank and Miss Sherry go way back. He knew all he had to do was pick the phone. He didn't know it now, damn it, but he know it now. Okay, but let me introduce my co-hosts. This is a live show, and then these are people that are run for office.
Okay.
Floyd, okay.
Grady Davis, I'm a producer here at KMTV. I produce Grady's Notebook, and it's a pleasure to have you on. It's a pleasure to work with Brother Bradley, and it's my honor to be a co-host on this live show. So hopefully, I'm looking forward to getting some good phone calls and some good answers from the politicians.
Oh, wait a minute, I gotta beat the drums. Introducing Frank, Mr. Frank and Mr. Floyd. Go ahead. I do a good job.
Well, thank you very much, Clifton. As Clifton mentioned, we're old friends. It's his birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Clifton.
You know, Muslims don't celebrate birthdays, but thank you.
My name is Commissioner Frank Avila. I'm running for re-election for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago.
Oh.
And we cover all of Cook County. Mm-hmm. My ballot number is 123, and we've been in existence over 100 years. Mm-hmm. Our mission at the district is to protect our water supply, Lake Michigan, because the reason why water is so important is that the good Lord made our body 65% of water. Every creature on the planet needs water. If you don't have water, you're out.
So you're guaranteeing that the water would never be like Flint, Michigan's, never.
Well, I'm guaranteeing that the water supply will not have any toxic chemicals in it, because that's what we do. We protect the water supply, Lake Michigan. You know, on the planet, 70% of the surface of the planet is water.
Yes, sir.
70%. But 1% of that 70% is for drinking purposes. And 20% of that 1% is right here in the Great Lakes.
Let me tell y'all, he won't say it, but them and I said, our water would never be like Flint, Michigan. It's dirty and filthy, as long as this man is in office.
Thank you.
He won't say it, but I'll say it.
Well, water.
Go ahead, though.
Yes. Well, good evening, everyone, and congratulations to you on a wonderful show, which you get a chance to educate the audience. I am an educator. I am a history teacher at John Hancock High School on the southwest side.
Where's it at?
And it is by 56 and Kaminsky, near Midway Airport.
Okay.
And I am sitting among you as the Democratic candidate for state senator of the southwest side. It is a district that encompasses many different neighborhoods, from Bridgeport on the east end to about Garfield Ridge on the west end. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that the viewers that are watching are not only concerned about clean water, but their main issue, as I knock on doors every day, is the fact that Illinois has a serious problem. That serious problem is taxes. Just like our founding fathers, had a revolution when it came to objecting to no taxation without representation. Mm-hmm. We are living in Illinois a very critical time in which many families, no matter where they live in the state of Illinois, but including Chicago, mm-hmm. are facing where they cannot pay anymore. Where taxes. Our politicians in Springfield in particular are out of touch with the fact that regular working class people cannot pay the amount of regressive taxes that are being put on them. And so one of my main issues is basically identifying with that working class and saying enough is enough with, taking it out on working class people. And, which is also very important, we need to get more honest politicians that are not corrupt and that are not misspending and wasting tax dollars.
Got you. I got to say one thing before Grady has to say something, that the only people that really treated me like something in the political world was Tony Perica. Okay, Frank Avila, Mr. Floyd, and Miss Dorothy Brown. She came to my non-for-profit organization and spoke. Y'all the only people that treated me. Out of all the politicians I had, come on, get out and vote. Go ahead, brother.
It's interesting that the last politician you mentioned was Dorothy Brown, because I've been saying that I'm looking forward to trying to help my alderman, which is Kerry Austin, not be the next Dorothy Brown, because they held Dorothy Brown under a microscope for 10 years and found nothing. But, gentlemen, the southwest side of Chicago, you're saying taxes. What's the minimum income of the residents over there? And are those single-family houses, multi-unit houses, or what?
You know what? It's very difficult to generalize the people that live in Garfield Ridge and put them in the same category in the type of dwellings as in some of the other people throughout the district. I think Pilsen, particularly, which is my home, is in a very difficult position when it comes to housing, because there are many families that have lived in Pilsen for years and for decades, and they are being forced out to some extent because they can't pay the high property taxes. So no matter what the particularly look or the fashion of the households, everyone in Cook County is faced with the same problem, which it has become a burden to live in Chicago, and the property taxes are now just basically without a reach. And I'll tell you something else. There's a lot of retired people, like my dad and like our neighbors. And when we raise taxes of any kind, they are struggling because their paychecks are not getting higher. They're living on a fixed income. And I would like to say today to all those people that are relying on those fixed income, you are going to have a champion, someone that understands you, because the politicians in Springfield have not paid attention to the fact that we are making the lives of working class people very difficult. And this is why people are leaving Illinois.
Okay, let me ask you something. I got to tell people this. Somebody was saying, damn, why is another chair sitting up here? And there's not a guest there. There was somebody else invited here, but I'm going to give respect and not call his name. And that's why I'm sitting there. Okay. I want people to know that it's very unprofessional for you to set up an interview and that person don't show up. You know what? But Frank, I got to ask you and Mr. Floyd, without mentioning your opponent's name, because we don't want to give them any ammunition, okay? Why should they vote for you and you oppose to the opposition of the people that's running against you? That's a very important question.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Clifton. Our agency, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District.
You're not running unopposed.
No, there's 10 candidates.
Don't mention their names.
Okay. There's 10 candidates, you vote for 3.
Okay.
And one of the 3 should be a civil engineer. I'm a civil engineer. Our agency is an operational type of agency. We're not a judge where you get, that we sentence people, or we're not a state representative where you pass laws. We are an operational type of agency. As I mentioned, we protect our water supply at Lake Michigan. We prevent flooding. And we're the #1 and #2 agency in the world.
But why should they vote for you?
Because our agency was designed and built by civil engineers.
Now, is that a mandate from the state?
No mandate by the state.
No mandate from the state.
But to do the operation of what we do, we're a $1.1 billion agency. Civil engineers design and built the operation of what we do. And I'm a civil engineer. I understand everything from...
The opponents do not... I'm putting words in there. You say your opponents hadn't a clue how to do it right. Is that what you're telling me?
Right, because remember I mentioned, we have the largest wastewater plant in the world,
Okay.
the largest reservoirs in the world. We have the largest ultraviolet light treatment plant in the world. We are big. As I mentioned, our budget is $1.1 billion, and it's operated by civil engineers. I'm a civil engineer. I've been practicing civil engineering over 30 years.
Can I say one quick
Yeah.
thing? That your opponents may be nice people, but they haven't a clue or even where to start. Am I right?
Well,
Am I right? And Mr. Floyd, why?
Very simple.
Why?
Very
Because
simple
with
answer.
the opponents that are run, why should they pick you out of all the opponents that may even be running against you in your district? Why? What separates you from the pack? Frank already answered and you did well, but go ahead.
I'll go in a slightly different direction.
Okay.
Primeramente, yo soy una persona bilingüe. First and foremost, I am somebody that is trilingual. I speak Spanish, I speak Italian,
Speak
and I
some
speak
Spanish to them. Go ahead.
Bueno,
saying they don't
it
know
is
the- they
muy
don't know the
importante.
people?
Right. What I'm trying to say is that as far as characteristics, skills, talents, it is very important, especially in an area which has majority Latino residents, majority of the Latino people from that district. But I want to go one step further. To answer your question very succinctly, I am going up against the Chicago machine and all that is wrong with Chicago.
Machine is dead.
Voters that live in the southwest side, there is remnants of that machine,
Okay.
do not want part of the
Excuse me.
same
We got
old.
we got to call. Excuse me for one. Call 312. I'm sorry. 312-738-1845. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
As I was saying, there's a very brief answer to why it is that you should vote for Freud, why you should vote for me, is because my opponent is part of all that is wrong with being a public servant. First of all, he came up through an organization that is completely machine and that completely about making deals that don't benefit working class people or the communities or the families in that district, but that benefit the lobbyists, that benefit the insiders, that benefit all that's wrong with Illinois politics.
But how's
this is the
But
reason.
wait a minute. How's this different? How's it separate? I'm saying, how is it separating you from the rest of the people that are running in your district? That's what I'm
Oh,
asking.
yes. So to go further into that, I connect more with the families that are the southwest side. I just said I am the only one that is trilingual, the more that could talk to anybody on the street, no matter what language they are. And I am raising my family. I am raising a 7-month-old, and I am raising a 7-year-old, a boy and a girl. Lots of people that are raising their families, they want to know that their senator is changing diapers, that their senator has to deal with health care, that their senator is sending their kids to the area schools and is struggling with the same type of problems, with a lack of public safety, with a lack of health care, with a lack of some of the Chicago problems that are we have before us. I feel it. The working class feels it. This is the way why people should vote for me.
Now I got to ask y'all something. I've never done this before, but then Grady is going to be next. Can you speak to them and the people that are struggling to listen to English? Can you speak to them in Espanol about why they should vote for you?
Well, I'm not a good, I don't speak
Okay,
Spanish.
can you speak to them in Espanol about why people should vote for you?
Claro.
Let's came.
La razón es muy clave. Yo soy una persona que me identifico con las personas que están teniendo problemas de impuestos, teniendo problemas que su gobierno no los trata igual. Es una simple razón porque identificarme con alguien que vive los problemas igual que tú.
Okay, you mentioned Frank.
Claro, otro servidor público que tiene un buen récord es el comisionado Frank Avila, una persona que tiene ideales y tampoco está con la maquinaria. Muy buena reputación, deberíamos votar por él.
Can you tell us what you said? I don't even know what he said. Sorry, Grady.
Essentially, we want to say that we want to go with people that also feel the problems and the hardships And Commissioner Frank has a proven record
Okay.
of delivering. And
Okay.
so, I consider him someone that I wholeheartedly endorse, and I wish him well. I know he's going to succeed.
I want to bring up taxes because you mentioned taxes on the southwest
Fantastic,
side.
great topic.
Are the benefits that was given to politicians downtown hurting your district?
I will say that my opponent voted to give himself a pay raise. That is wrong. At a time when families are struggling to put food on the table and their taxes are going up, and people on fixed incomes like retirees, when they're asked to pay more, politicians shouldn't be putting more money in their pockets by raising their salaries. That is something I'm against. But I do want you to clarify your question as far as the downtown portion.
There has been a lot of media attention involving benefits given to businesses in the loop.
Mr. Barrios, who was,
I'd like
what
to,
was Mr. Barrios'
I'd like to respond to that.
Mr. Barrios was, he gave big breaks to big buildings downtown.
Yes.
But he put that load on the poor and disenfranchised people in the community, in the hood. This is wrong, and it was ignored by your news media, but you hypocrites out there that are in the news media, you ignored that, damn it, and you thought me and Grady forgot about it. But go ahead.
I would like to talk on that particular point.
Okay.
The system is not a good system for Cook County taxpayers. The system does, and I've heard this because I've been knocking on doors all over the southwest side, the system is not a fair system of assessment. The Tribune actually did report that the old Cook County assessor did not have a standard for assessing a property. They would guess.
Mr.
and that's wrong.
Mr. Barrios.
That was wrong. And I think that there's a lot more we can do in Springfield in order to have a fair system in which people could say, okay, this is how I am evaluated, and I think that I'm paying the same amount that my neighbors are because we have similar properties.
Yeah, Trump Towers get a break, but I can't. But anyway, Frank, I want to ask you, you at the helm of the water commissioner, what new innovations can we look for coming out of your department?
Well, as I mentioned, we have, here in Cook County,